I think especially now, we're looking for ways to make sure that everything that we produce um, has like an indication of Africa. So I think that's one of our biggest inspirations or motivations is just making sure that when people see our stuff, like they can see our roots, if that makes sense. And so that's one thing that we're very adamant about.
Yeah. I lay on the scale, you gotta glow, you gotta glow. She had my attention, she got
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Get It podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode, I'm a friend Blessing to speak about starting her own clothing brand. You can find more information about her clothing brand by clicking the link in the description below. I'd like to give a content warning for any strong language used in this episode, and hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show. Recording. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Nice. So, for the first question, I would like to ask is, what would your origin story be, and how would you like to represent it? It can be real or fake.
Um, I'll go with real because I'm not that creative. So it's pretty straightforward. So I was born in Cotonou, which is a city in Benin. That's a country in West Africa. But I was raised in Nigeria. My parents are Nigerian. My parents are ministers, so I traveled a lot from my childhood. Was never in really one place for too long. Um, and then I think it was '08, came here to visit America, USA. Oh my God, really glamorous. I was like, oh my God, I really want to stay. But that was like during what Americans would call like summer break. So after summer break, then we went back to Nigeria and then came back permanently a few years later. When we came back, that was middle school. So I did middle school here. And then after that, I had to assimilate into the culture because school in Nigeria and school here are definitely not the same thing. So that took a little bit of adjustment. But then after I graduated middle school, I went to high school, obviously. The high school wasn't that big, it was relatively small. Graduated top of my class, then started college at 17, I think. Baruch, which is how I know you, Zeke. Went to Baruch together. And then I went to Baruch to study accounting. So started in 2015. And then junior year, 2017, I started a business with my sisters. So that was very fun and fulfilling. And then graduated 2019 with my BBA in accounting. And then Baruch offers this integrated program, which Zeke. So I did that for my master's. I did information systems with a concentration in data analytics. So did that for a year, graduated last summer, because, Baruch and their curriculum, everyone knows. So ended up graduating in the summer instead of the spring, but that's fine. And then after that, it's just been working on the business and just finding ways to grow myself. So that's where I'm at now.
Nice. And how would you like to represent it? What would you make to represent your origin story?
Like if I was to pick someone to represent my story?
You could make a movie, a book. You can make it.
I think it will probably be more interesting as a movie. It might be a little boring as a book. So I'll probably do a movie and find ways to like spice it up a little.
So add extra stories that happened. Be like, you know what? when we all first got to America, it was kind of harder than
stuff like that. Just add a little spice, a little salt, a little pepper. Make it tasty.
Nice. So when you first came over, like how was America like perceived like back then? Because I've been in America my whole life, so I know a lot of times people are like, oh my God, America is like it's like a great place to be.
Yeah. I think that's the perception of a lot of people coming into the US is like, the land of opportunity, like it's glamorous, everything is easy, people come here thinking like life is easy and money grows on trees and stuff like that. But then when you live here for long enough, that's not the case. But yeah, that's definitely a misconception that a lot of people have. Like, granted that, US has its opportunities, there are ways to, you know, get out there and hustle and make money for yourself, but it's definitely not as easy as a lot of people think it is coming to the US, and they think life will automatically like be on like a go for like however long, but that's most often not the case.
I can concur. As living in here my whole life.
Yeah.
Like,
How is your perception? Have you always seen like, US as, I don't know, like what's your perception of it? I've never had the other perspective.
like as a child, I was like more susceptible to like when the United States talking about like it was like the best country in the world. And then you start
Mhm.
getting older, you start seeing the cracks in that statement, and you just like, this is trash. Like who said this? Who like it's like at
Yeah.
the end of the movie where we have like, the clip of the guy saying to the college students like, this ain't the best country. You saw like, yeah, this ain't like who said that?
Yeah. I hear you.
But like it's still like better than some places. But
Absolutely.
even though you can't just like be satisfied with that, you gotta be like, you can do better. You can be more.
Yep. Agreed.
I hear some stories and like, you know what? My childhood wasn't that bad. I don't have to complain too much.
Too much. You complain a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
yeah. And then assimilating. How was that assimilating to the states?
I think it was hard at first. So I'm the last of five. And obviously like being the younger one, like I didn't want to like burden my siblings because they have already at that point have been through the assimilation process. So it kind of was just like something that I felt I had to navigate on my own. One incident that I do remember vividly when I came was when I went to high school, I mean, middle school. I wore like, I guess obviously the dressing is different too. I had worn like a turtleneck under my uniform, and I think our uniform was like a bright blue. So I had worn like a darker green turtleneck because obviously like it's cold, like winter time. And obviously like back home it's hot a lot. So I put on like this really bright, it wasn't really that bright, but like a lime green type orange, a lime green what is it called? Turtleneck. And then I had a blue shirt, which was our uniform, and I wore that over um the sweater. And then I went to school and like people were laughing. And in my head I'm like, I didn't get it because I'm like, what's so what's so funny? But obviously that was like an eye opener, like, oh, that's dressing matters here, and like color matching like your outfits was a thing people did. And obviously like I didn't know that. I didn't really care for that. So I went home and kind of was like, yeah, this wasn't a good day. But then moving forward, I kind of knew to like be on the lookout of what's the norm or like what's not acceptable, what's okay to do and stuff like that. So it was definitely an adjustment period. But after a while, a few months in, I kind of got my sea legs, if you will. So it took a while, but I got there eventually.
Yeah, even if you were born here, you still have to adjust when you go to new school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, what these new people feel like? But do you also like question? Do you feel like the pressure, or do you just like this is what I gotta do, and then after a while you start building your own personality?
Yeah, I think for a while I was more introverted. I guess like I didn't want to do too much, if you will. Like I wanted to watch and observe and see like how people operated and how other kids reacted to things that happened. Just to kind of observe and make sure that I was in the know, and doing what is societally correct. I don't know if that's a if that's a term. um, but then after a while, like I think once I got comfortable, it was more natural for me to kind of show my personality, versus where in the beginning I was a little bit more hesitant because I didn't know whether or not like what my personality is and the experiences I've had would be accepted in that environment.
Got it. And then since you're the youngest, how is that being the youngest? Since I'm the oldest.
Hmm?
How is it being the youngest?
How is it being the youngest? Um, very fun. I think I get away with a lot. I'm also a daddy's girl, so obviously, any little thing I run to my dad, oh daddy, this person is being mean to me. And then my dad is like, stop, she's the last one. So I did get away with stuff. But then as I get older, I mean, it's really not the same as when you were younger, because I feel like when you're younger, there's like more competition and like, I don't know. But now I don't really feel the age difference really among me and my family anymore, as much as I did when I was younger.
As the oldest, you have all these responsibilities. You kind of blueprint of everything.
Yep.
Like, okay, cool. I'm the first one in school. And then the parents are, okay, so this has to, what works? You the experiment, as most people say.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And then we get to like the second or the last.
Yeah, I'm glad that older child business was not was not mine to take on, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I complain about it every day. I'm just like, you had to have me first. Or at all, like, can I ask you questions first before I was born? Like, do you want to be born?
Okay. Older child struggles.
Yeah. And so now you have a business with your sister.
I do.
How did that come about?
So we started the business in December of 2017. So that was the year I was in junior. I was a junior. Yes. I was a junior, right? I think so. December 27, 20, because 2015, 2016. Yeah, I think I was a junior. So it kind of came from a place of, I think we all wanted more for ourselves than, I guess, what we were seeing at that point. Obviously, like I mentioned, coming to the US, it's kind of like, oh, like things are automatically going to be better. Like I'm going to be making like bank, basically. I'm gonna be a millionaire in like 2 years. And then you come here and you've been here for like 5 years, 6 years, and you're just like, yeah, like what happened to that millionaire status type thing. So I think we were kind of like shocked to get here and like not have it be what we thought it would be, and we just kind of wanted more for ourselves and expected more of ourselves, and that point of our lives that we all were in. So we decided that since we want more, what else can we do in addition to where we're at to kind of achieve, or that would put us in the right track to achieve the status that we want. And that was basically starting our own business, right? Because at the end of the day, like for me personally, long term, I don't see myself like working for someone all my life. At some point, I do want to have like my own sort of independence. And that was the same for my other sisters as well. So there's three of us that started the business, me and my two other sisters. And I think that was a uniform value that we all had. And then we kind of just sat down and thought about it, like, okay, this is where we want to go, but what can we do to get there? Like, what do all three of us have in common that we can kind of, push to get this started? And that uniform thing was fashion. Like, we all love fashion. We all buy shoes. We all love clothes. We like to mix things up. We like to be unique. So we can run with that. So that's exactly what we did. We decided we'll start a fashion online boutique. Obviously, because we were new at it, we didn't really have experience in it. We just started online, researched, did whatever we need to do, planned it out. We didn't really dwell on it too much. I think we didn't want to like get discouraged. So as soon as like we thought of it, we kind of just went for it. We didn't allow ourselves to be distracted by like, oh, do we have the knowledge to do this? Or do we have the capital to do this? We just kind of went for it. And I think that played well in our favor.
No paralysis with analysis. I like that.
That's a good way to put it.
And then how is it like working with family? So people say don't mix business with family, business with friends.
I mean, it definitely has its ups and downs. There'll be times, obviously, where you're not always going to get along. You're going to have someone who disagrees with something. But I think at the end of the day, just knowing the reason why you're doing what you're doing, I think that's what brings us together and allows us to kind of work through the disagreements and find a compromise. So like if we're picking a fabric and someone says, "Oh, I don't like this," and then we don't attack them. Obviously, we're like, "Oh, what don't you like about it?" Or how can you make it better? What do you have in mind? I think just being cognizant of each person's style and personality and finding ways that we can draw from each of those three unique experiences and bring something together that would be, engaging and exciting for other people.
So my mom, like, when this podcast gets bigger, she wants to go into business. I'm just like, are you sure? Because I'm gonna be in charge.
No, it definitely, it has its downsides, but it's upside as well. Like, you don't have to, go looking for outside people to do stuff. Like, all my family, they're invested in the business. So like me and my sisters, obviously we own the business, but my brother is a photographer. So like he helps us shoot stuff. So that's an expense that we're saving on because we don't have to go pay like a videographer, a photographer to come in and like help us, do our shoots and stuff. And then my other brother, like he's a trainer. So obviously he models our stuff, makes it look good. And then my parents, obviously the support, they reach out to the network when new stuff drops. So there's definitely an upside to it. You save money, you get to work with people you love, and you build a bond like working so close together. So it's you gotta take the bad with the good.
And then it seems like you guys found your roles. How did you guys develop roles? Like for example, you said one brother's a photographer, one's a trainer. So how did that conversation come up?
I think we just played to our natural strengths and to our interests. So my brother, he's a photographer, so obviously he's not gonna be doing like the accounting and stuff. He's gonna, work with what he does best, which is the camera. And then my other brother, he trains people, so you know, he has muscles, I guess. So so he models the clothes, and then we post them up because everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's your brother! I feel like he could beat me up," and I'm just like, "Yeah, yeah, we get that a lot." And then me, obviously, because I'm in business, I study business. I'm more in like taking care of the books type of thing. My older sister, the oldest one, the first one, is more into administrative, like that comes easy to her, handling paperwork, dealing with like government agencies and all that stuff. She handles it. And then my other sister is more outgoing, so she's social, so she handles the social media, the marketing and all that stuff. So we just played to our strengths. And that again just worked well. And it just worked out that way. There was no like, oh, we need this, we need that. Everyone just kind of like took a stick, if that makes sense, and went for it.
Like a whole team, you guys was like, okay, so I'm gonna be in charge. So this is your position, and everybody plays their roles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sorry,
cool.
say that again.
No,
All I heard was roles.
it was like you guys had like a team meeting, and it was like, okay, cool. So what are you good at? Okay, so you handle that. We'll check in, but then you got that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're not wasting time trying to do everything.
And I think again, the fact that we're family also came into play because it didn't really need to be like a formal type thing. I think because we know ourselves, we know each other, we kind of know what we're good at already. So it was more like an informal type thing. There was no like, official meeting where we sat down and said, okay, like who wants to take this? Who wants to take this? I think we just like naturally assumed because we're good in those things that everyone would just kind of take it up, which is exactly what we did.
Nice. And then when you made this idea to your parents, were they for it? Did they ask you guys questions? It was like, what is this?
What is this? No, I think my parents were pretty cool. They didn't like, it wasn't new for them because my dad is an entrepreneur too. He started like multiple branches of different churches in different countries. So he has that experience of like starting things up from scratch. So I think they were just happy to see that we're doing something for ourselves and building something that is like our own, not like something that they gave us, but something that we're taking initiative to build. I think they love that, and they're kind of like pushing for that and encouraging it. So if anything, they want to support it more, not like, oh, like, what are you doing? What is fashion? Like nothing like that.
It's not like a story when they have like immigrant parents who like you're a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's very that definitely used to be the case. I think growing up, like that was definitely like a conversations that took place in the house. Like, oh, you be a good businesswoman. You make a good doctor. You make a good surgeon. But then, as life happens and you evolve and you grow, like you realize that there's more out there than those four occupations. And I think they also kind of grew with us when it comes to like the mindset. So they're not like as traditional as most African parents are, or just people who lived in the olden days. They're not as rigid as they once were. So that's good.
United States version is go to college, get that city job, and get your health benefits, and that's it. That's kind of the United States version, or at least the New York version of that story.
Pretty much.
That's cool. To have parents that support you.
Major key.
So then, my mom, I had to like explain to her what a podcast was, and then she had left her do her own research. And then when she was on the podcast, she was like, "Oh, this is fun." I understand it now. I was like,
Aw, that's cute.
yeah. So with the fashion, what kind of inspires you guys fashion?
I think especially now, we're looking for ways to make sure that everything that we produce has like an indication of Africa. So I think that's one of our biggest inspirations or motivations, is just making sure that when people see our stuff, like they can see our roots, if that makes sense. And so that's one thing that we're very adamant about, moving forward and just growing, making sure that people know that, this is a brand that's associated with like a rich culture, not necessarily deep messages, but like empowering messages and lessons that people can take away and kind of help rewrite their own story and just inspire people. I think especially knowing where we came from, and knowing what we went through, we want other people to feel inspired to do the same, not be restricted by the realities. Like if you don't like where your life is going, which was basically not that we didn't like where it was going, but we wanted more. So that's the message that we want to get across. Like if you are not content with where you are, you can like pick up the pen, flip the page, and start writing the story that you want to tell the world. So those are like, excuse me, are one of our two biggest motivations and inspirations for the collections and stuff that we make.
Got it. And then, so how do you guys incorporate Africa into it?
I think most people, like once they see Ankara, they think Africa. And so that's one of the biggest things that we're playing to, making sure that we're using a lot of African fabrics, African slangs, things that just points back to the culture, are things that we're using to kind of incorporate that like Afro-modern culture in the brand.
Yeah. I also see like a big like push and more acceptance of Africa, like African people accepting the African roots. You guys feel that with the business?
You were breaking up. Can you
I
say
feel
one
like
more time?
like
You were breaking up.
right now I see like a more push and like a more acceptance of Africa and like African roots. You guys feel that with the business?
You said there's been a big push on African web.
There's like a big push and like acceptance like Africa, like African roots.
Mm-hmm.
You guys feel that with the business? When people like come see it?
I guess I think because of the whole like all the movements that have been going on, obviously people are becoming more aware and stuff. So we've definitely seen a bigger, like, I guess, attraction or interest in the brand, in the culture. But for us, it's always been a thing, and that's one of the things that we're trying to promote, like that African culture. So we want them, the more of them that are interested and want to know more about the roots. There's a place for them to kind of come to and explore that. So absolutely.
Nice. So when you're doing like the entrepreneurial stuff, does your dad ever come in with advice and be like, I will do it this way, and then he'd be like, I'm gonna hold my tongue though, but I will do it a different way.
um they're not as involved in the processes. We don't let them be involved in the process. I don't even think that they're interested in the processes, to be honest. I mean, it's one thing if like they're actually like interested and care and say, no, don't do that, do this. Um, I think they trust our judgment and they just kind of say, hey, like whatever we get, they get, or like whatever we make, they get. They don't really like question like what the process was or like what the meaning is behind what we make. They just kind of like take it for what it is. Um, so they're not like as hands on um, and intrusive, I guess, to the process. So that's good.
That's good. They're kind of just like when someone asks them what they're doing, like my children are entrepreneurs, maybe all hiring, like this is what they're doing, just showing you guys off.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like,
they're very like parents, like they're very vocal, like, oh, my child is this, oh, my daughters are doing this. So it's, it's definitely like what's the word, like a point in the conversation or like something for them to like brag about, like when they're talking to people. So I'm just like, okay. I just pretend, I just walk away like it's not happening, because sometimes they over exaggerate too. I'm just like, it's not how it happened, but okay, like tell it how you want to. But yeah.
that's nice. Nice. So with the business, you guys, where do you see yourself? Where you guys going with the business? What's like the big plans, the big ideas?
Big plans. So as of last year, ending of last year, 2020, um, we started the process of turning the business into an LLC. So that's being finalized like as we speak. Just getting like the finalized paperwork from the state and stuff like that. But in the future, God willing, this would be like an international corporation, and would have like branches or like headquarters and stuff like in different countries. Um, and hopefully, if you know trends change from like online, we can even start opening physical stores. But people are seeming to shop more online, so we're in the trend at least, so that's good. But definitely having physical stores when the time comes, because it's definitely more capital and a lot more things that go into it. But just having like an international presence, potentially turning into a corporation, and just impacting as many lives as we can is the plan long term.
Then I'll be like, you guys hiring, send my resume, be like, this is what my skills are.
Not hiring right now. But if positions do open, like I'll definitely let you know. Obviously, like we're still starting up, we're still small, so we're building it up. But that's definitely going to be the case in the future, where we're going to need people from different talents, and I'll definitely keep you in mind. You got it.
I'm like, this is what my business been doing, this to that.
We got
So,
you.
yeah. So when like that entrepreneurship came up, did you feel like it was like a new thing for you, or was it just like something you kind of had in the back of your mind?
It was definitely something that I had in the back of my mind. I knew from jump that I wanted to have independence. I know obviously you have to work for other people, build your network and your connections before you can actually get there. But it is something that like I've always thought about. And then my family is basically all entrepreneurs pretty much. Um, from my dad, building his churches, different countries, different branches, different states, to my mom starting up her own school, and then even now, and my siblings, like we're all entrepreneurs. Like my brother, he has his own business. He's a trainer. My other brother, has his photography business. And then there's us, the girls, who have our own business. So I think it's definitely been a mindset that was ingrained in us, even just growing up. I don't think we realized it till like we grew up and kind of looked back and saw the patterns. But it's definitely something that has a mindset that has been, ironed in from childhood, and we're basically seeing the fruits now that we're all older. But yeah.
So it was more of like it was bound to happen anyway. It was like if you like
Yeah,
surrounded by
I think
millionaires,
so.
you're gonna be like if you like around
Yep.
5 millionaires, you're gonna be the 6 millionaire.
Yep, that's the plan. That's the plan. That's the plan. God willing.
Yeah, that's cool. That it was kind of something there. Yeah, I kind of had that too. I was trying to sell like books and stuff in like elementary and middle school, trying to make money because I kind
Gotta
of need money to
start
buy
from
stuff.
when you were youngin,
Yeah,
you gotta start from way back when.
yeah. So do you enjoy the business or the points where you just like I can't do this? So
Hmm?
like with the business, there's like there's of course there's enjoyable parts and there's also like parts where you can't do this, but I need to take a break. How's it done with that?
There are definitely those moments definitely happen. Especially when, there are people that you see every day and you're like kind of tired of, like if you're arguing about something, you're tired of hearing their voice and you're just like, yeah, I'm done. Like I don't want to speak on this again. Um I think you definitely, like, in those moments, it's definitely important to take those moments of breaks, because in that heat of, maybe tension or like argument, you don't want to say the wrong thing or like say something hurtful that you're going to regret. So we're definitely cognizant of that, making sure that if things get a little too hot, that we like break the meeting, like take a break, and then reschedule it to come back and kind of talk about it. And then put it on like the topic, like the to dos for the agenda for that meeting, for the next meeting. So taking a break is definitely something that we're mindful of. But I think something else that we do that I really like is really get into the root of the problem, I guess. So really like asking that person, like, oh, what is it about the situation, like how would you change it, or like what are your thoughts. Really big on hearing each of us out, because there are three voices in the business, and you never want like one person's voice to feel not heard. And I think that's something that we've done, at least up till now, really a good job of just making sure everyone speaks up, and like their ideas and their uh you know, whatever it is that they want to bring to the table, it's like they have the free reign to do so. So that's really big for me.
Like communication is key.
Absolutely.
Cool. Every time with like a family, like this, you start like I'm the big sister, so I'm gonna be right, and then he's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, that definitely, I mean, it obviously doesn't come out that way, or like they don't come out and say like, oh, like I'm the big sister, or like I'm the middle child, so like I must have the say. But it's almost like no one is trying to like push their opinion and their thoughts. It's more of like why do you feel that way? Like justify where you're coming from, type of thing. And then if you can't justify it, then it's kind of like, then you can't really like have much of a say if you don't really validate where you're coming from. So it's just making sure that you know what you're talking about and you can stand behind what you're talking about. If not, then it's clip.
And then with that, do you feel like the stuff you learned from school about business is like tying in into your entrepreneurship, your business now?
I think a little bit. Not like, I think the business classes, obviously communication, the communication classes really helped me, I think personally. Um the biz not as much the account, like the, you know how accounting at Baruch like gets really crazy. The accounting classes, not so much. For the business, you only need like a basic understanding of like accounting your stuff. So like just the basic classes would have been enough um, for the books. But obviously, it's better to know because as the business grows and like gets more complex, maybe those information that I learned would be useful. But right now, just a couple of things um, were helpful. Like I was able to pull from to bring value on my end to the business, but some things, not all, not everything, but definitely some things.
Yeah. Okay, for accounting, drop that stuff on y'all quickly. So you know what y'all do all that.
Yep.
That's cool. And then with like business, you almost like always running on the fly. How was it dealing with that?
Learning on the fly.
Yeah, how was it dealing with that? With
I feel
business?
like you got to. And I think a big part of that is having an open mind and knowing that you don't know everything and accepting that, because I don't know everything, I have to be willing to learn. I have to be willing to take corrections. I have to be willing to take feedback. Obviously, with the three of us never having done something like this before, it's important that we are cognizant of growth and being able to take valuable information from people that have done this before and know how things work and be able to learn from them. And be able to be quick with it too, and taking that information and reapplying it to the business immediately to make sure that we're seeing like that growth, if that makes sense. But being able to learn on the fly is like, I feel like it's important for any job, not just not just like owning a business, but if you're working for another firm or like for a company, like you need to be able to learn on the fly. Like there information that you're gonna come across that you didn't know, but you have to grasp that and like put it in your tool belt and run with it. um, so definitely a valuable skill to have.
Cool. Just go back to like family. So how was it growing up with two parents?
Oh man,
Yes.
it's very fun. It was very fun because like I think a lot of the times they played like good cop, bad cop. So it'd be like you ask your mom for something and your mom will be like, "Oh no, you can't have that." So then I'll run to my dad because I'm a daddy's girl. I run to dad, be like, "Oh my god, dad, I need this." He'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure," and then he would just give it to me. So I think growing up, at least as a child, like that's something that I really enjoy. Like I grew up seeing my mom as like this like what's the word? What's a good word? Not like loving, but like strict, like tough. And then my dad as more the pliable, like soft one where like you could just go and like if you did something wrong, like you would go to him like, "Oh, I did this," versus like to your mom, like you're more scared, like, "Okay, like I'm gonna go type thing." But it was very fun to have both parents. I think you get like the full experience as a child. um yeah, it was just very fulfilling. I think my whole family, because we're kind of a big family, um kind of made it more fun too as well, because then everyone's personality, imagine like 7 huge personalities in a home, like it's a lot, but it was definitely fun growing up.
Nice. I have my mom, so it's just bad cop, bad cop.
Back up, back up. Oh man, you could give yourself the good cop.
Nice. Cool. And so it's like with the business, what kind of business? What kind you do to decompress from business? What do you do like for fun?
What do I do for fun? Oh God. It's I'm starting to realize that this is a bad habit, but like binging on Netflix has been like a horrible habit that I picked up over quarantine. Like I would just sit and watch for like hours and hours and hours. So definitely like watching shows is a big distressor. Listening to music, specifically Afrobeat. But I feel like Afrobeat has that like mm, mm, like you have no choice but to kind of like get up and like dance and just, get out of your head. Um with COVID, obviously we can't really go out anymore, but like spending time with friends, doing activities, fun activities, active activities. Um Activities that like require you to move. So whether it's like going to the arcade or like going bowling or whatever, just getting out there and just doing stuff. But we can't really do that as much anymore. So it's just been being indoors. Learning the piano is something that I started doing over quarantine as well. Um, and reading. I'm trying to read more, but when you're stressed, you don't want to like add more of like, you just want to it's the opposite. You want to take it out of your head. So, yeah.
Like I stress, I need more information.
No, I don't need more information. I need less. I need you to like suck it out of my brain so that like I can just relax myself.
Cool. What do you say? A couple more questions, then we'll be done. Think of them. Anyway, like piano, my elementary school tried to make us learn the keyboard. I didn't get that. I still know what middle C is. I'm just like, what is this?
ah, learning the piano, I mean, it started off as not like a choice I wanted to make, but then as I started learning it, I'm like, yo, this is actually kind of cool. Like, I actually like started to enjoy it. So now it's definitely like once I'm like practicing, I'm like in my zone, I'm like tapping my feet. Like I wish I had like drums playing on the side. Um, but no, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's cool. You should pick it back up.
Um, I'll learn how to make beats. Same difference. Gives me a keyboard anyway. A small keyboard to play the
One
sound.
key.
Now your own. You can make the
Okay.
sound to the key, so then you can just learn like that, and then that'd be cool.
Sure. If you know how to do that.
I'm
If
a
you don't
quick
know how to
study.
do it, then
I'm a quick
that's
study.
good. That's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a cool, fun episode. Gonna end it around here. So one more question, and that'll be, what would you name your origin story?
What would I name it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a hard question. What would I name it? That's hard. Um, Give me like 1 minute to think. um, I'm like blanking right now. It's so bad. Um, the only thing that I can think of that's coming to mind is Blessing's Race. Um, but yeah, that's about it. Nothing else is like popping into my head. But yeah, Blessing's Race.
Nice. That's interesting. And then when you can find an actor who's gonna play you, or actress who's gonna play you, in your movie?
I have to pick like an actual actress.
Yeah.
Oh God. um, if I had to pick an actual actress. Uh, the only other person that is coming to mind, I don't know why, is Gabrielle Union. Oh, I'm not sure that she would want to play this story. Yeah, but she's the only person I could think of right now.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Oh, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was
Anytime.
fun.
Yay, this is fun. And when the merch come out, that shirt, This is fun, will be out everywhere. Everybody will be able to get it.
Yo, where can I get a hoodie?
I'm working on it. Like, got my vinyl cutter.
Okay.
Get my vinyl cutter.
Sweet.
I got my heat press because I ain't got the kind of money to get screen printing yet.
You get there. You get there. Okay.
It's in the works.
Tools.
In the episode.
That brings another episode of the Let's Get That podcast to a close. Again, I'd like to thank my friend Blessing for joining the podcast. For next week, I am catching up with my friend Jermaine and reminiscing about high school. I hope you continue on the next day, and I hope to see you there.